What is up, everybody? Welcome to Outside the Cage. We are live here. I'm your host, Jalen, with my brother Eric. How we doing?
Doing great, man. Little recovery mode from St. Patty's Day weekend. Can't lie, it got the best of me this year. But we'll bounce back. We'll be ready for the summer holidays. And I'm a little baffled, to be honest, about this title fight announcement we got for UFC 301. Alexandre Many Men Pantoja. He's been winning us a lot of money lately, taking on a newcomer, an unknown in this division, Steve Astro Boy Erceg. What was your initial reaction when you saw this fight? I mean, a lot of people were expecting Mokaev or Albazi.
Just weird. I don't know. I think I thought I missed something. Obviously, I obviously heard of him before. I was kind of exaggerating when I told you I've never heard of this guy, but obviously, I've heard of him, but I never heard of him in the realm of a title shot or a big time fight. I've heard of him, but I couldn't tell you the last time he fought until obviously he had the big knockout. But I don't know. One of the weirdest kind of title out of the blue. I mean, gotta be most ever. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a lot more common back in the day for guys to get a title shot off of almost zero UFC fights. I mean, Anderson Silva hadn't fought in the UFC. Rampage had one fight. Gilbert Melendez hadn't, but they were all champs from other organizations, and the UFC wasn't what it is today. Anyway, though, Steve Erceg, he's coming in. They have some early odds out for this one. Pantoja's opening at around minus 280 on FanDuel. I feel like that might change a lot, though, once the other books get out there and make their odds.
Bet it now if you like that. Bet it now.
Yeah, I think that'll move towards Pantoja even more. But Erceg's 28 years old. He's 3-0 in the UFC. I think that's the craziest thing right here. His best win is against Matt Schnell. He had a nice knockout a couple weeks ago. I'll play it real quick if I could find it.
In the pocket, that's where he's going to have this.
Yeah, so I mean, he's a clean, dynamic striker.
Yeah,
but it's just crazy that he's getting a title shot. Man, the new graphics are really looking nice. We upgraded.
Did we get any backstory of why or how?
So Pantoja had an interview, just a quick couple of comments. He said he had asked the UFC for some fresh blood, a new opponent, not Royval, not Moreno. But I think everybody expected that to either be Mokaev or Amir Albazi. But I mean, honestly, the UFC, I think they're kind of thinking what the fans are thinking. No one likes to really watch either of those guys fight. They're good. They win a lot. But they're two of the most boring fighters on the roster, plain and simple. So I think the UFC went down the list. They looked for a guy that could be marketable. He's young. He hasn't fought these guys yet. And that's Steve Erceg. He was the Hex champ, so he comes from the same promotion as the Viper. You know, they breed some legit fighters over there. So in 2022, Erceg was supposed to be on the Dana White Contender Series, but he couldn't even do that. He had to drop out twice because he had visa issues. And you fast forward 2 years later, and he's fighting for a belt. Yeah. That is insane. It just shows that right place, right time is a real thing in this sport.
Does this, in your mind at all, I never want to do this, but does it devalue Pantoja's kind of status as champion, this division? I mean, realistically, bro, if we have Steve Erceg fighting for a title in this division, how good is it really?
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same thing. I think it brings down the whole division. I don't know about Pantoja as much because he's really just been cleaning out the top. He's been taking out a lot of those big names up there. He's beaten almost everybody in it. So I don't know if it really hurts his status necessarily, but the rest of the flyweights, I think it hurts their status a lot. And I mean, Mokaev and Albazi, they're legit contenders, but they're just not exciting fighters. They're not guys that the UFC wants as a champ.
So let me ask you this from a viewer standpoint. Would you rather watch this dude Erceg, who not a lot of people know? What's going to draw more? Erceg, who not a lot of people know, or Albazi or Mokaev, who people know and do have boring styles?
I think for this fight, Albazi and Mokaev might draw more, but just for this fight. I think if you look at the ceiling, Albazi and Mokaev are almost at theirs in terms of popularity because they're just, if they become champs, people aren't going to be excited about their fights. They're going to say, oh man, another boring flyweight title fight. But if Erceg gets the belt, he'll be very entertaining. He'll have good striking matchups, try to keep it on the feet. And I think that's kind of what the UFC's seeing. And Pantoja's going to beat any of these guys most likely. So it's just kind of a good fallback because if Albazi or Mokaev became the champ of flyweight, it would lose any hype and any steam that it has right now. They're just not exciting, marketable fighters, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that does make this card interesting, Jose Aldo is back in the UFC. Kind of crazy, kind of bizarre. I kind of thought he was someone who was retired for good. But again, when it's Brazil, you never know. So what was your reaction? What did you think?
Man, 37 years old. I was surprised like everybody else when I saw it. I don't think Jose Aldo's broke or anything like that. He made a lot of money in his day. He was on a 3-fight win streak before that fight against Merab, where it was a pretty close fight. I think he looked better against Merab than anybody else has lately. I don't know if he's necessarily looking at another title, though, to be honest, because he had already had 3 boxing matches since he'd been retired. One of those was against Jeremy Stevens. The other 2 weren't notable fighters. But I think he might just be kind of trying to fight out his contract in the UFC, get that one more done so he's not tied in anymore, and then he can go crush his fans.
I think it's just a Brazil thing. He's not coming back for like a title run. No. He's come back to fight in Brazil. Yep. Kind of worries me. Maybe it's I don't know. Like you said, it could be to fight out the contract, or it could be he needs the money. Hope it's not that, but.
Yeah, I think it's most likely the contract because he could go fight in Saudi Arabia after this and fight somebody half the skill of Jonathan Martinez and whoop him and maybe even make more money doing it.
Do you have a line for that?
No, I was looking. I didn't find one yet. There might be one as we speak, though, because this is such recent news. But Jonathan Martinez is a scary, scary fighter for anybody, but he does have a good style for Aldo. 2 of his last 3 wins have been by leg kick TKOs. Martinez and Edson Barboza are the only fighters in UFC history that have multiple leg kick TKOs. So this guy is just one of the best leg kickers in the whole promotion. And if you've ever watched Jose Aldo fight, you know that is his absolute bag. Checking leg kicks, throwing them, just kicks in general. He was a great soccer player as well. So this one's very interesting to me. I'm curious to see the line. If you had to guess what the line would be, what would you say?
Martinez minus 200, 225?
Yeah, I'd say so. He's just good right now, dude. 6-fight win streak. They're throwing Aldo into the deep end. They easily could have given him a vet in that division that's not a legit, step up, I guess, or a guy that's going to move you up. But it is interesting because he is fighting somebody that would propel him right back into the mix if he wins.
Yeah. Interesting to see what obviously his plans are for. I know that crowd's going to be rocking for him, though.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully. Last time that crowd was absolute shit. I think that's part of the reason that this card is what it is, too.
Yeah. So what if I told you, little segue here into our next one. What if I told you that Jose Aldo fights in the UFC before Conor McGregor does in 2024?
It would have sounded crazy if you said it a month ago, but now it's going to happen. It's nuts, bro.
Insane.
But we did. I almost think it is the UFC
but you don't gotta tell me
as much as it is Conor, though.
No, yeah, it's 100% Conor. You don't got to tell me, bro. I've been told you this about this dude.
Yeah, but the UFC, they have to negotiate a TV deal in 2025, and I think Conor wants to fight out his last 2 fights and then go do whatever. So I think
it's nothing with, bro. It's literally, no one is thinking that. No one is thinking that far ahead. If Conor wanted to fight, he would fight. Conor McGregor.
I think those guys that make billions and billions, I think they're looking into the future a little bit. If the Ariel Helwani's saying it, then I'm sure some high ups are too.
We
we
I
got a
just don't
promise.
see what they're waiting for.
Yeah, just to negotiations. I mean, that's a tens of millions of dollars of leverage if you got McGregor on the roster versus if you don't. It's the same thing they were saying that they did with Nate when he didn't fight for that really long time. But you don't know, you just don't know with those guys either. So, like you said, it could be Conor. Probably is Conor. I mean, he's been shooting a movie, so he wasn't really available all this time that he's been saying he wants to fight. Here's a clip from an interview, though, with the ESPN MMA guy with the really long, confusing last name, or else I would totally say it.
Excited about Roadhouse. They're also excited about you coming back to the Octagon. When do you think that might be and against who?
Yeah, we got confirmation a few days ago that it's all systems go, and the Notorious will be returning in the UFC Octagon this summer.
This summer. That's Chandler, Michael Chandler.
He went on to say yes for Michael Chandler as well and talked a little shit to Chandler.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's in the summer. I like that in the summer. Again, I kind of we talked about this before. How kind of 300 is kind of missing that big superstar. It's a really good card, top to bottom, 1,000%, but it's kind of missing that big superstar. And I kind of thought about like, well, if Conor was ready, they'd for sure put Conor on there. But then your counter was people are going to watch 300 either way, so why waste Conor on 300? But I'm in the boat where it's like I believe Dana 1,000% wanted to make a splash and like wanted Conor, wanted Izzy, wanted John Jones. That's just who Dana is. So yeah. I don't think Conor's ready right now. So if he's not ready right now and it's March, he's going to be ready in 2-3 months.
That's a tough one. I think International Fight Week is June 29th right now. He'd be fighting either last weekend of June, first weekend of July. So we'd have about, 3.5 months to get ready. That's a camp right there. So he would have to start after this week. Hopefully that's the plan. I mean, it lines up. He does this movie premiere thing. I think the movie comes out either tomorrow, it comes out the 21st. So Thursday or some shit. Does that premiere stuff, walks the red carpet, and gets back. He said, it's going to be home, gym, home, gym, home, gym. That's all it is for the next 3 months. So I really hope he's right. Are you still leaning towards Conor in that fight versus Chandler?
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, they live different lives, but you got to think Chandler's been off too. But I just really think whether he's coked out, whether I just got to believe that Conor's a world-class striker. Like, that never goes, I don't think. If you ask me right now if I had to bet it, I don't know. I want to say Conor because I think Conor's in this style, in this matchup, he can definitely win this fight. It's a favorable matchup for him. I don't know where his head's at. I don't know. I mean, every time Conor gets in the octagon, he's ready to go. He's a gamer, but I just can't trust myself betting on him at this moment.
You spoke the words from my mouth. I believe stylistically it favors Conor. I think he's the better, sharper fighter than Chandler, but Conor's been partying, Chandler's been training. And I think there is something true about the game passing you by if you're away from it for this long. We kind of saw it in the second Dustin Poirier fight when Dustin messed him up with those leg kicks. And I remember Joe Rogan was saying, this wasn't that big of a thing when Conor was at the top last time he was here, but the leg kicks have really come on in the last year or two. And that was back in 2020, something like that. So there's going to be other small things like that all those fighters are in the gym working on every day, watching film on, where Conor's been on the sidelines. So even if Chandler hasn't been fighting, he's still been in the mix, not letting.
Yeah, and one thing I would say about that too as well is I think Conor stays in shape. Obviously, he looks good. Whether it's natural or not, but I would say that Conor probably hits mitts probably at least once a day. I would imagine so. But how much is he wrestling and grappling in a full camp? That could benefit Chandler as well.
And we're assuming Chandler's going to do what he's done in all of his other UFC fights. If he did go wrestler Michael Chandler style on McGregor, that would make it a very difficult matchup. Not even for the submission threat, just tiring him out, making him defend those takedowns, work back to his feet.
I don't think Chandler does that. I think the new Michael Chandler wants to put on a show. You obviously saw him versus Gaethje. He wants to stand and bang. He wants those wars now. Especially you get him in a fight versus Conor McGregor, who he's been waiting for. He put all his eggs in the basket for this one. He's not going to go in there and shoot for a takedown. He's going to get in there and they're going to be in the pocket. They're going to throw, which is why I like Conor in that. You have to like Conor in that. But you just don't know what Conor is at mentally and physically.
That's why I like Sugar so much. We know that he's going to show up locked in and that he's been doing everything he needs to. We know we're going to get the best version of him, but with Conor, you just do not know. And for this next one, back in the Apex, to be honest, we're not very dialed in on this one. We've got Rose Namajunas.
Watch the March Madness and rewatch the fights after.
Yeah, maybe put it on the
laptop.
laptop.
On a UFC podcast, but that's the move.
That's why you got to mess with us. We're honest. We're not going to come on here and give you some bullshit. We're going to say how it is. So, do you like somebody in the main event this weekend? Do you like Doug Rose?
I probably like Rose Namajunas here by decision over Amanda Ribas. I just think Rose is the better fighter here at this point. You never know with Rose, bro. If you can get Rose locked in, I mean, she's on a 2-fight losing streak. But if she's locked in, ready to go, I mean, I like her versus a lot of people. But Amanda Ribas coming off a knockout win and a knockout loss, so she might go in there and stand and bang a little bit. But yeah, I think the safe money here is Rose by decision.
I like that. I just don't like betting on Pat Barry, though. I think Rose is one of the best, most skilled fighters in the whole entire women's UFC 3 divisions, but Pat Barry is just a bad
Pat Barry's lost her a lot of fights.
If she only trained with Trevor Whitman and Gaethje and Kamaru and had them in her corner and only them in her ear, her career and legacy would look a lot different right now.
I agree.
One fight I'm also excited for on this card, we've got Cameron Simon taking on Peyton Talbot. Interesting matchup here. Talbot, good grappler. Simon, good striker. Two young bantamweights. 23 for Cameron Simon's 23 years old. Peyton Talbot's 25. So I think the winner of this is really going to have a lot of hype in that bantamweight division.
Yes, sir.
And a couple other MMA news things going on. So Peter Yan, he got an injury in his fight against Song Yadong at UFC 299. Turns out it's pretty serious. He's got a torn meniscus, a ruptured ACL, and a groin injury. He got surgery on it either today or yesterday. Sucks for Peter because he was really starting to gain some steam after that Song Yadong win. Like you had said, he wasn't in that same boat as other people on a losing streak. He had a chance to get right back in the title mix, but now that's going to get put on hold, unfortunately.
He's just been so unlucky the past 2 years.
The one fight he wins, he kind of loses it because he can't fight for another year.
Then he gets bad matchups. It's been tough for him.
Mm-hmm. And then Marvin Vettori is out versus Brendan Allen on April 6th. Chris Curtis hops in instead. I still think that's a good matchup. I was excited to see Brendan Allen against a very, very good wrestler in Vettori. But Chris Curtis actually has one of the top 5 takedown percentages in UFC history. He has remarkable takedown defense. He's always training at Extreme Couture with all those great wrestlers. So this will be interesting to see if Brendan Allen can get the fight to the ground, if he can pull off his patented rear naked choke. Man, this one's a downer, bro. This one pissed me off. Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko are the Ultimate Fighter season 30.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That one kind of went under the radar because there was a lot of other news dropping around that time. But, dude, what are we doing?
Yeah. I didn't like that one either. I saw it.
I posted a thing on our Instagram. Who should be the Ultimate Fighter coaches this year? There was a Sugar Marab suggestion, which would be elite. There's a Volk Topuria rematch option, which would have been much better than this. There was a John Jones Stipe option. That would have been crazy. You have to think that the UFC offered all of those and they turned it down, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. The Ultimate Fighter's kind of been losing steam.
Yeah, when it first started, that was the main way to get to the UFC. So the top amateurs or low-level pros were going to that show. But now with the Contender Series and Cage Warriors,
they had to have. It's got to be like not as valuable for the people to do it. Like there's no value in it. I mean, you would have to think. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Sugar and Tim would lock in and do that. It's a long time away from your family, but I don't know.
I mean, they could move him out there. McGregor did it. Probably had a big old house for his whole family. Dude, just imagine the TV if it was Matt, Sarah, Ray Longo, and Marab and Aljo, and then Sugar and Tim.
Yeah, John Jones, Stipe is also the move.
I think either of those would have actually revived the Ultimate Fighter because with McGregor Chandler, it had the hype to do it, but the show didn't really live up to it because Conor wasn't putting that much into it.
Yeah.
But if we had, man, I think the Sugar Marab was the way to go just with the personalities. I think Tim, Sarah, and Ray Longo would have been just as entertaining, if not more, than Sugar and Marab. Unfortunately, we got to watch two people whose first language isn't even English. They both speak English, but I mean,
yeah. Well, hate to end on that. Hate to end the show on that news, but
I'll give y'all a little better. I'll give y'all a little more positive news before we get out of here.
I mean, better ending.
UFC St. Louis, May 11th. City Fight Night going to be electric. Confirmed bouts so far. These aren't all of them, but just some interesting ones. Alonzo Menifield versus Carlos Ulberg. Your guy Michael Johnson versus Matt Frivola. Jake Hadley versus our guy Charles Johnson. Hometown fight for him in St. Louis. And there were some other solid ones on there too, but I just waited because that might change. And then UFC 302 is going to be on June 1st. They didn't have a location yet, but if I had to guess, I would say London.
Leon?
They do one London pay-per-view a year, usually 1 or 2 London fight nights, and it seems like perfect timing for Leon to defend his belt.
Yeah.
And then UFC 303, June 29th, International Fight Week. Hopefully that's the McGregor card. Either way, that's
count on
electric, though. I think we got to go to International Fight Week, like go to Vegas for it, no matter what. Maybe not get tickets, depending on how our betting goes from now till then. But especially if McGregor fights, we got to be in Vegas that week.
Definitely, for sure.
You got any March Madness picks now that we're a little closer?
I like Purdue to make a big run. I know that's kind of talk, but I like Purdue. I think Purdue gets it done this year, bro.
Virginia vibes from 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw some pattern type shit that Houston might lose in the first.
I saw that.
The thing about like the sex.
Houston's not a team that can. Houston's not really a team that can lose, like get upset like that. Like they can lose, obviously, but they're not a team that gets upset like that because they just guard so well.
Like they could hold them to 25 points, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're having a bad shooting night.
Yeah. They're a hard team to upset because they just guard really well.
Any low seeds? You think NC State makes a run? I feel like they're the most popular Cinderella team right now. I don't know if you can call them a Cinderella yet, but a lot of Jimmy V comparisons going on.
Yeah, I like NC State. I think I have them winning round 1. Let me see here if I have anyone in my Sweet 16 or Elite 8. I have Drake in the Sweet 16.
No bias there?
Nah, no bias. I just think they're good. Yeah, I gotta look at my bracket, bro. I don't really have much sleepers on here. I gotta give it another look.
It's hard because you look at each game and you're like, no way this team wins. But then on Wednesday, there's always at least 4 or 5 of those teams winning.
Yeah, exactly.
So it makes it great. And I have to ask you, LeBron and JJ Redick's podcast. When I saw the clip that's been going around, I couldn't wait to ask you about it. Are they just using big words and saying simple concepts?
Yeah, but there's a lot of simple concepts in basketball that have different terminology. So in a way, yes, but that's what they really call them in the league. Like he's not making it up.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean that whole thing about the baseline out of balance shit, all that to just say switch it. And then I watched a little bit of it. He was like, they're just talking about something, and then I don't know. I mean, it's good. I like it. I'm not sitting here hating on it. I don't mind it. It's definitely like you definitely have to like know what they're saying to like watch it because you'll just be like, what the fuck are they talking about? It's definitely not like a regular podcast, like JJ's regular podcast where they're just like talking news. It's really like it was really a detailed X and O's conversation, really good conversation. But yeah, I mean, Braun's just dramatic. So
Dude's so corny. He's probably the GOAT, but he's so corny.
Yeah.
I think they've got to do what Detail does and actually show videos, or at least do the little like X's and O diagram things to give.
Yeah, they
people
were doing some of that. I don't know if you watched it or not, but they were doing some of that.
Oh, okay, bet. Or even a whiteboard. Just have
They
it
weren't
right
like
there.
looking. They weren't like looking at it, but like Braun was like, "Yeah, we played the Clippers last night, and we called Horn's chest, and they messed it up. We ran it again, and they showed them running it. And then JJ was doing some stuff on the whiteboard. It was cool. It was good.
That's tough. Yeah, I felt like that was right up your bag when I saw it.
Yeah.
All right, at least we didn't have to end on Valentina Grasso news.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see y'all next week. We may or may not get some bets up. Maybe we'll get crazy and put some March Madness bets on the outside the cage page just to raise people's bankrolls. And we will see y'all next week. Doses.